Now, there is no doubt about it that when we take a look at what happened on September 10th with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we have seen a ton of those in the media, those in Hollywood, those in the music industry even, saying some terrible things about Charlie Kirk, his wife Erika Kirk, and even his loved ones such as his friends and family. And it just goes to show exactly how far some of these people are willing to go to really tie it all back to President Trump, Trump supporters, MAGA, etc., etc. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, fortunately, we do have a handful of actors coming forward and stepping forward to really just say and tell it like it is. We have people like Sylvester Stallone. We have people like Mel Gibson, James Woods, Tim Allen, and now even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is actually putting all these celebrities in their place. Now look, let's be very real. We know which side Arnold is on. We know that Trump is obviously someone that is not valued in Arnold Schwarzenegger's mind. He has a very big differing opinion between his politics and the politics of those that support Trump, and he has actually gone on a couple of crazy rants before in the past. There's no question about that. But what's very revealing here is that Trump is actually now dealing with a lot of different celebrities. You have one on one end actually using the Charlie Kirk situation to politicize it. On the other end, you have a lot of actors that are actually just trying to tell it like it is, to just say separate the whole Trump thing from the Charlie Kirk situation. And now you have Arnold Schwarzenegger making that ultimately clear. Now, what's interesting here about all of this is that with, of course, everything related to the entire film and music industry going through a spike in firings and cancellations of those representing them after they decided to politicize the Charlie Kirk assassination, one significant development going on now involves actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who decided to step forward and put the celebrities mocking Charlie Kirk by politicizing it in the hot seat. Now, he goes on to deliver, I think the one thing I have learned throughout my career, whether it was with acting, bodybuilding, or even politics, is that they all come with discipline, and you should never mix either one of those with politics. Something many of these actors are foolishly doing to themselves right now, especially after what happened to this well-educated man, Charlie Kirk, who lost his life weeks ago. And you don't have to agree with his politics, I'm not asking that, but just respect the man as a human being. Something many of those in Hollywood right now just absolutely refuse to do. It's what really makes me question what has this business come to. What happened to our industry? If you are not going to say something nice, it is best to not say anything at all. I would at least respect that. What I find is so reckless is how you have all this talent, these actors, writers, directors saying all these things about Charlie and what happened and how they want to make it all connected back to Trump and make it into a Trump argument. Like, what is wrong with that? As a former governor, look, I know politics very well. I get it and I understand it. And I have my issues with President Trump, but let's leave it at that. I'm not here to lecture anyone, okay? But someone lost his life. Imagine if this happened to your loved one. It's something many of those representing our industry just don't understand. And that worries me for the future of those in cinema. They need to cut it out with the nonsense. Enough with the politics and focus on your projects already. They are being foolish right now, and I think discipline is the most powerful tool you can have in this business, and it's something I am seeing a lack of from today's talent, which I think is why we are dealing with reckless behavior, and it's not okay. It's not okay, and I just hope and long for unity one day where we can put all of this behind us. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Arnold. Now, he is right about one thing, is that there really is, like, no discipline right now in Hollywood. You have a lot of producers, you have a lot of those running some of these studios, unfortunately, that are actually encouraging this behavior. Disney is by far one of the biggest ones that actually encourage this behavior. Some studios are beginning to wake up, thankfully. You know, studios out there like Universal, for example, and among others like Paramount. However, he goes on to continue, and I think we will get there, I do. This will all be a thing of the past eventually where we will no longer be divided. But to use what happened to Charlie to push your politics, that is something that I cannot respect at all. I just can't put up with something like that. We need to stop this right now. They need to maintain discipline, and I know it's a word I have used in my movies, but no, it's true. It's very true. It's the lack of that, which is why we are dealing with so many of these actors and those serving as the face of some of these studios, really and only causing trouble. Now, before I move on about what Arnold is delivering here, one thing about this is that he really is making it very clear that the lack of discipline is a very big factor as to why you have a lot of these actors and actresses saying such crazy, wild things. Even those in the music industry. We all saw what Ariana Grande had to say, Katy Perry, and some of the other performers out there. It's even those that are in the music business that are actually encouraging all of this. And there needs to be some kind of control, there needs to be some kind of boundary when it comes to what your talents are able to say and what they're not able to say via contract or whatever it may be. And look, we've seen a ton of firings for sure, but we also have some of those that are not being fired or canceled or whatever, or are getting just a suspension like Jimmy Kimmel's case and coming back after 4 days. But one thing is for certain about all of this is that we know that Sylvester Stallone, Tim Allen, James Woods, Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger now, and you have a lot of these actors that are just really beginning to take a stand. Now look, apart from all the others that I mentioned, Arnold is the one that really has no, connection to Trump. He doesn't really care about Trump at all. He doesn't like his politics, and that's fine, by the way. But the thing is, Arnold has gone on some crazy rants before, even within this year of 2025. But look, let's just tell it like it is, like Arnold is telling it like it is. He really is calling out a lot of these celebrities for how they're acting right now and why it's tarnishing Hollywood, why it's tarnishing the film industry, and why it's just tainted right now. And why people are just exhausted of going to the movie theaters anymore because they don't want to actually give a lot of these actors their business anymore. Let alone, it's very expensive to go to the theater now, especially if you have like a family of more than 3 or 4, right? Now, what's interesting about that is that he goes on to conclude, and it's not a good look for Hollywood. It's just not. But I think we will get to a point eventually where this will all be a thing of the past. It always works that way, eventually. And it's a very interesting point that he puts out there, is that eventually, yes, everything does, become a thing of the past. Things do resolve, and things come in waves, right? And eventually, this is going to indeed be a thing where you look back at it and say, oh, look at all the division that took place throughout this decade, or whatever it may be. But one thing about all of this is that we know that Hollywood right now is very questionable whether or not it's going to be able to return to the way it used to be back in 2018, 2019, before the whole 2020 nonsense that happened, and how everything, really just tanked within that year for obvious reasons. Now, we know that there's a lot of things going on right now with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, James Woods, so many other actors that are just tired of all the division. They're tired of all the blame gaming and pointing the finger at Trump just for the sake of doing so, and really using Charlie Kirk as basically a way to actually give leverage to their anti-Trump rhetoric. That's basically what's happening right now, and a lot of these actors are now calling out other actors, and I think it's a very interesting thing going on. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments, anything ranging from Arnold finally taking a stand, Sylvester Stallone finally taking a stand, and much more. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.